You know what keeps me up at night? It's not the questions I answered in my 20s. It's the ones I ran from. The ones I buried under busyness, under achievement, under the next promotion, the next relationship, the next distraction. And if you're honest with yourself right now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because those questions, they never went away. They just got louder. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. I was 43 years old, sitting in my car in a parking lot, and I had what most people would call a successful life. Good career, nice house, all the markers of having made it. But I was crying, actually crying, because a question I'd shoved down 20 years earlier had just kicked down the door of my consciousness and demanded an answer. The question was simple, brutal, honest. Who are you when nobody's watching? Who are you when you strip away the titles, the roles, the masks you wear to make other people comfortable? I had avoided that question in my 20s because answering it meant I might have to change everything. And change is terrifying when you're building a life. So I did what most of us do. I got busy. I convinced myself that doing more meant being more. I told myself I'd figure out the deep stuff later, after I got established, after I proved myself, after I had enough money or time or whatever excuse felt convenient that day. But here's what nobody tells you about avoided questions. They don't expire. They don't fade away just because you ignore them. They hibernate. They wait. And when they come back with interest, with urgency, with a force that makes you wonder why you ever thought you could outrun them in the first place. Think about this for a moment. What question did you avoid in your 20s? Was it about your purpose, your relationships, your values? Was it about whether you were living your life or performing someone else's script? Was it about forgiveness, about healing, about the parts of yourself you learned to hide because they didn't fit the image you were trying to project? I've talked to thousands of people over the years, and I can tell you this with absolute certainty. The questions we avoid in our youth become the crises we face in our middle age. The career you chose to please your parents becomes the golden handcuffs you can't escape at 40. The relationship you stayed in because you were afraid of being alone becomes the marriage that slowly suffocates you. The dreams you postpone become the regrets that haunt you. There was a woman who came up to me after a talk in Seattle. She was probably in her late 40s, dressed impeccably, looking like she had it all together. She waited until everyone else had left, and then she said something I'll never forget. She said, "I spent my 20s becoming who everyone expected me to be, and now I don't know who I actually am." The question I avoided was simple. What do I actually want? Not what looks good, not what makes sense, not what's practical. What do I want? And you know what the tragedy is? She was still avoiding it. Even standing there, tears in her eyes, she was still looking for me to give her permission, to tell her it was okay to finally ask herself that question. But I couldn't give her that permission. Nobody could. That permission had to come from within her. It had to come from the part of her that was tired of performing, tired of pretending, tired of living a life that looked right but felt hollow. Here's what I've learned. The universe has a funny way of bringing you back to the lessons you need to learn. You can run from a question in your 20s, but it'll be waiting for you in your 30s. Ignore it there, and it'll ambush you in your 40s. Keep running, and it'll become the crisis that forces you to your knees in your 50s. The question doesn't change. Only the stakes get higher. So what are these questions we avoid? Let me share some of the most common ones, the ones I see over and over again. The first one is this: am I living authentically, or am I living to meet expectations? This is the big one, the mother of all avoided questions. Because answering it honestly might mean admitting that the life you've built, the identity you've crafted, the person you've become is more about approval than authenticity. I remember talking to a lawyer who'd made partner at 35. On paper, he'd won. But he sat in my office and told me he'd never wanted to be a lawyer. He'd wanted to be a teacher. But teaching didn't pay enough, didn't have enough prestige, didn't make his father proud, so he became a lawyer. And every year, the golden handcuffs got tighter. Every year, the question he'd avoided in his 20s got harder to face. Am I living my life or someone else's dream? The second question is about relationships. Do I love this person, or do I love the idea of not being alone? This one destroys more marriages than infidelity ever could. Because we make decisions in our 20s based on fear, based on timelines, based on what we think we're supposed to do by a certain age. And then we wake up at 40 next to someone we barely know, someone we chose not because they lit up our soul, but because they were there, they were safe, they checked the boxes. What if I told you that the relationship struggles you're having now are just that avoided question coming back around? What if the disconnect you feel isn't about your partner at all, but about the fact that you never asked yourself the hard question before you made the commitment? Do I actually want this, or am I just afraid of the alternative? The third question is about purpose. What am I here to do, and am I doing it? This is the one that creates the midlife crisis, the existential dread, the Sunday night anxiety that no amount of success can quiet. Because deep down, you know, if you're on your path or if you're on someone else's, if your work matters to you or if it's just a means to an end, if you're contributing something meaningful or just going through the motions. I met a man who'd built a successful construction company, employed 50 people, made good money, respected in his community, but he told me he felt dead inside because what he really wanted to do was write. He'd wanted to write since he was 15 years old. But writing didn't seem practical, didn't seem like a real career, so he put it aside. He told himself he'd do it later, after he built something stable. 30 years later, he still hadn't written a word. And that question, what am I here to do, had turned into a weight he carried every single day. Here's the thing about these avoided questions. They don't just affect you. They ripple out into everything you touch. Your relationships suffer because you're not fully present. Your work suffers because you're not fully engaged. Your health suffers because you're carrying the stress of living a lie, even if it's a sophisticated, well-decorated, socially acceptable lie. And let me tell you something else. The longer you avoid the question, the harder it becomes to answer. Not because the question gets more complicated, but because you've built a whole life around not answering it. You've got responsibilities now. You've got people depending on you. You've got an identity to maintain. The cost of change feels astronomical. But here's what I want you to understand. The cost of not changing is even higher. It's your peace of mind. It's your authenticity. It's your chance to live a life that actually means something to you. And that cost doesn't get paid all at once. It gets paid in small increments, day after day, year after year, until you wake up one morning and realize you've spent your entire life being someone you're not. So what do you do when these questions come back? Because they are back, aren't they? You're listening to this right now because something inside you knows it's time to stop running. You're ready, even if you're scared. You're ready, even if you don't know what answering honestly will require of you. First, you have to get honest. Brutally, uncomfortably honest with yourself. Not with your therapist, not with your best friend, not with me, with yourself. In the quiet moments when nobody's watching, when you can't perform or pretend or rationalize, you have to sit with the question and let the real answer surface, even if it terrifies you. I want you to try something right now. Close your eyes for a moment if you're somewhere safe to do that. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what question have I been avoiding? Just sit with it. Don't judge it. Don't try to answer it yet. Just acknowledge it. Give it space. Let it breathe. The question might be about your marriage. It might be about your career. It might be about the relationship with your parents that you've never healed. It might be about your health, your finances, your spirituality. It might be about the dream you gave up or the person you used to be before life convinced you to be someone else. Whatever it is, the first step is acknowledgement. You can't heal what you won't acknowledge. You can't change what you keep pretending doesn't exist. So acknowledge the question. Say it out loud if you need to. Write it down. Stop letting it live in the shadows of your consciousness. Second, you have to understand that answering these questions doesn't mean your whole life has to blow up. I know that's the fear. If I admit I'm in the wrong career, I'll have to quit my job and start over. If I admit I married for the wrong reasons, I'll have to get divorced. If I admit I've been living inauthentically, I'll lose everyone I know. But that's not how it works. Answering the question is just the beginning. It's not the action itself. It's the clarity that allows you to make conscious choices instead of unconscious reactions. Maybe you realize you're in the wrong career, but instead of quitting tomorrow, you start taking steps toward a transition. You take a class, you build a skill, you have a conversation. You start moving in the direction of authenticity, even if it's slow, even if it's scary. Or maybe you realize your marriage isn't what you thought it was, but instead of ending it immediately, you bring honesty into it. You have the real conversation you've been avoiding. You invite your partner to join you in building something authentic instead of just maintaining something comfortable. Sometimes that saves the marriage, sometimes it doesn't. But either way, you're living in truth instead of pretense. Third, you have to make peace with the fact that other people might not understand. They might judge you. They might be confused by your changes. They might prefer the old version of you, the one who was easier to understand, easier to categorize, easier to control. And that's okay. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your authenticity is not up for a vote. I'll tell you a story. There was a time in my life when I had to make a choice between staying in a situation that looked good and stepping into something that felt true, and people thought I was crazy. They thought I was throwing away security, stability, everything I'd worked for. But I knew something they didn't. I knew that security built on a foundation of inauthenticity is just another kind of prison. And you know what happened? Some people fell away. Some relationships ended. Some doors closed. But other doors opened, better doors. Doors that led to a life that actually felt like mine. Relationships that were based on who I actually was, not who I was pretending to be. Work that mattered, purpose that resonated, peace that wasn't dependent on maintaining an image. Fourth, you have to commit to the process, not just the outcome. Answering these avoided questions isn't a one-time event. It's an ongoing practice. It's a commitment to continue asking yourself the hard questions, to continue choosing authenticity over comfort, to continue growing even when growth is painful. Because here's the truth. You're not going to get it perfect. You're going to backslide. You're going to have moments of doubt. You're going to wonder if you made the right choice. That's part of the process. What matters is that you keep returning to the truth. You keep choosing honesty. You keep moving toward the life that's actually yours. And finally, you have to understand that it's never too late. I don't care if you're 40, 50, 60, 70. It's never too late to answer the questions you avoided. It's never too late to course correct. It's never too late to choose authenticity. The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now. I think about that woman in Seattle sometimes. I wonder if she ever gave herself permission to ask what she actually wanted. I wonder if she's still performing or if she found the courage to step into her truth. And I think about all the people just like her, just like you maybe, who are standing at this crossroads right now. You can keep running from the question. You can keep telling yourself you'll deal with it later, after this project, after the kids are grown, after you have more money saved, after things settle down. But things never settle down. Life doesn't pause to let you catch up. The question will keep following you, keep getting louder, keep demanding an answer. Or you can turn around and face it right now, today. Not perfectly, not with all the answers figured out, just with honesty, with courage, with a willingness to finally stop running and start living. Because here's what I know to be true. The questions you avoided in your 20s aren't back to punish you. They're back to free you. They're back because you're finally ready to hear the answer. You're finally strong enough to handle the truth. You're finally brave enough to make the changes that truth might require. Your soul has been trying to get your attention for years, maybe decades, through anxiety, through depression, through that vague sense of dissatisfaction that no amount of success can cure, through the relationships that don't quite work, the work that doesn't quite satisfy, the life that looks right but feels wrong. All of it has been pointing back to this moment, to this question, to this choice. So I'm asking you now, what question have you been avoiding? And more importantly, are you finally ready to answer it? Not with your head, not with logic, not with what makes sense or what other people will think, but with your heart, with your truth, with the voice inside you that's been whispering or maybe screaming, trying to be heard. The life you're meant to live is on the other side of that answer. The peace you've been searching for is on the other side of that answer. The version of yourself that you catch glimpses of sometimes, the one that feels authentic and alive and true, that person is on the other side of that answer. You've spent enough time running, you've spent enough time pretending, you've spent enough time building a life that looks good instead of one that feels true. The questions are back, and this time, I hope you'll answer them. Not because it's easy, not because it's safe, but because you finally understand that avoiding them has cost you more than facing them ever could. Your soul is calling you home, to yourself, to your truth, to the life that's actually yours. The only question that matters now is whether you're brave enough to answer. What if I told you that the moment you stop trying to fit in is the exact moment your life begins to transform? I know that sounds counterintuitive. We've been programmed since childhood to blend in, to color inside the lines, to be careful about standing out too much. But here's what I've discovered after decades of working with people from all walks of life. The ones who change the world, the ones who find true fulfillment, the ones who leave a lasting impact are never the ones who played it safe by copying others. They're the ones who had the courage to be authentically, unapologetically themselves. Let me tell you about a conversation I had years ago that changed everything for me. I was sitting with a young artist who was in tears because her work wasn't selling. She showed me her paintings, and they were technically perfect, beautiful, really, but something was missing. When I asked her who her influences were, she rattled off 5 famous artists whose styles she was trying to emulate. And there it was. The problem wasn't her skill. The problem was that she had buried her own voice so deep under layers of imitation that she couldn't even hear it anymore. I asked her a simple question. What would you paint if you knew no one would ever see it? What would you create if approval didn't matter? 3 months later, she sent me a photo of her first original piece. It was raw, it was different, it was unmistakably hers, and it sold within a week. Here's the truth that nobody wants to hear. When you spend your life copying others, you become a second-rate version of someone else instead of a first-rate version of yourself. Think about that for a moment. You have something inside you that has never existed before in the history of humanity. Your combination of experiences, perspectives, talents, and quirks is completely unique. But most people never tap into that originality because they're too busy looking around to see what everyone else is doing. The world doesn't need more copies. The world needs originals. And I'm not talking about being different for the sake of being different. I'm talking about the kind of authenticity that comes from deep within, from that place inside you that knows who you really are, when all the masks come off. You see, when you're truly original, when you're operating from your authentic self, something magical happens. You stop competing because there's no competition. How can anyone compete with you being you? They can't. They can only try to copy you. And by then, you've already moved on to the next expression of your authentic self. Have you ever noticed how the most influential people in history were never the ones who followed the crowd? Martin Luther King Jr. didn't look around and say, well, everyone else is accepting segregation, so I guess I should too. Steve Jobs didn't create Apple products by copying what IBM was doing. Maya Angelou didn't become one of the greatest poets of our time by writing like everyone else. They tapped into something deeper. They trusted their inner voice even when it contradicted everything the world was telling them. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you dare to be original, when you dare to express your authentic self, something happens that you might not expect. People start copying you, and that's okay. In fact, that's more than okay. That's confirmation that you're onto something real. Let them copy. Let them try to replicate what you're doing. Because here's the secret. They can copy your actions. They can copy your style. They can even copy your words. But they can never copy your essence. They can never copy the unique combination of spirit and experience and perspective that makes you, you. I remember when I first started teaching these principles, people would come up to me after seminars and say, Wayne, what if someone steals my ideas? And I would always respond the same way, let them try. Because an idea without the authentic energy behind it is just noise. When you're operating from your true self, from your source, your work carries a frequency that cannot be duplicated. People can sense authenticity, they can feel it, and no matter how well someone copies your surface actions, they can never replicate that. Think about this for a moment. What are you holding back right now because you're afraid it's too different? What idea have you shelved because you looked around and nobody else was doing it? What dream have you abandoned because it didn't fit into the conventional path? That's exactly the thing you need to pursue. That's exactly the voice you need to amplify. I've watched this pattern play out thousands of times. Someone discovers their authentic voice, their original expression, and they're terrified. They think, this is too weird. This is too different. People won't get it. But then they gather their courage and put it out into the world anyway. And what happens? Some people don't get it. That's true. Some people will never get it. But the right people, the people who need what you have to offer, they find you like metal to a magnet. Because authenticity is magnetic. Originality is magnetic. Here's what most people don't understand about being original. It's not about trying to be different. It's about stopping trying to be the same. There's a huge difference. When you try to be different, you're still operating from the outside in. You're still looking at what everyone else is doing and then deliberately doing the opposite. That's not freedom. That's just another form of letting others control you. True originality comes from the inside out. It comes from getting so connected to your authentic self that you stop worrying about what anyone else is doing altogether. Let me share something personal with you. Early in my career, I was invited to speak at a major conference alongside some of the biggest names in personal development. I prepared this elaborate presentation, complete with slides and statistics and quotes from famous philosophers. I was trying to sound important, trying to sound like what I thought a serious speaker should sound like. The night before the conference, I couldn't sleep. Something felt off. So I threw away my entire presentation and decided to just speak from my heart, to share the simple truths I discovered through my own struggles and breakthroughs. No pretense, no trying to impress anyone, just me, being me. That talk changed my career, not because it was perfect, but because it was real. When you're authentic, when you're original, you give others permission to be the same. That's the real power of staying true to yourself. You become a lighthouse for other people who are tired of pretending, who are exhausted from trying to fit in, who are ready to stop being a carbon copy and start being an original. Your courage to be yourself ignites courage in others. But I want to be honest with you about something. Staying original isn't always easy. There will be times when the pressure to conform feels overwhelming. There will be moments when you look at what everyone else is doing and think, maybe I should just do that too. It would be so much simpler. The voices of doubt will get loud. Your family might not understand. Your friends might think you've lost your mind. The market might not immediately reward you. And in those moments, you have to decide, are you going to trust the authentic voice within you, or are you going to let fear push you back into the crowd? I'll tell you what I've learned. Every single time I've trusted my authentic self, even when it scared me, even when it made no logical sense, something greater unfolded. Every single time I've tried to copy someone else or conform to expectations, I've felt miserable, and the results have been mediocre at best. Your inner guidance system knows the way. Your authentic self knows what wants to emerge through you. The question is, are you listening? Here's something that might surprise you. Being original doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel. It doesn't mean you can't learn from others or be inspired by others. Of course you can. Of course you should. But there's a difference between learning from someone and losing yourself in trying to become them. When you study others, you're gathering tools and insights, but you use those tools to build your own unique creation, not to replicate theirs. Think of it like cooking. You can learn techniques from master chefs. You can understand flavor profiles and cooking methods. But when you create your own dish, you're not trying to make an exact copy of theirs. You're using what you've learned to express your own palette, your own creativity, your own vision. That's how you should approach everything in life. Learn from the masters, but create from your soul. And here's the beautiful paradox. The more authentic you become, the more universal your message becomes. When you dig deep into your specific truth, into your unique experience, you somehow tap into something that resonates with everyone. Because beneath all our surface differences, we all share the same core human experiences. We all know what it feels like to be afraid. We all know what it feels like to love. We all know what it feels like to struggle and to hope and to dream. When you speak from that deep, authentic place within you, you speak to that same place in others. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a world where everyone stopped trying to copy everyone else. Imagine a world where every person fully expressed their authentic gifts, their unique perspective, their original voice. Can you see how much richer that world would be? Can you see how many more problems would get solved? How much more beauty would get created? How much more innovation would emerge? That world starts with you. It starts with your decision right now to stop playing small and start being fully yourself. Let the critics talk. Let the copycats copy. Let the doubters doubt. None of that matters. What matters is that you stay true to the voice within you. What matters is that you honor the unique expression that wants to come through you. What matters is that when you get to the end of your life, you can say, I lived as myself. I didn't waste my precious time trying to be someone else. You know what the saddest thing in the world is? It's not failure. It's never trying. It's going to your grave with your original song still inside you. It's spending your entire life being a mediocre copy of someone else when you could have been a magnificent original. Don't let that be you. Don't let fear cheat the world out of your unique contribution. Here's my challenge to you, and I mean this from the deepest place in my heart. Starting right now, today, make one choice that honors your authentic self. Just one. Maybe it's finally starting that project you've been putting off because it's too unconventional. Maybe it's speaking up in a meeting with an idea that's different from everyone else's. Maybe it's creating art that doesn't look like anyone else's. Maybe it's writing in your own voice instead of trying to sound like that author you admire. Whatever it is, do it. Take that step. Honor that inner voice. And when you do, pay attention to how you feel. Notice the energy that moves through you when you're being authentic versus when you're trying to fit in. Your body knows the difference. Your spirit knows the difference. That feeling of aliveness, of rightness, of coming home to yourself, that's your compass. Follow it. Remember this. You are not here to be a copy. You are here to be an original. The universe doesn't make duplicates. Every snowflake is unique. Every fingerprint is unique. Every person is unique. That includes you. You have something to offer that no one else can offer in quite the same way. The question is, will you have the courage to offer it? Stay original. Stay true. Stay authentic. Let your unique light shine so brightly that others can't help but notice. And when they try to copy you, smile and keep moving forward, keep evolving, keep deepening into your authentic self. Because that's a race they can never win. The only race that matters is the one between who you are and who you're capable of becoming. Your originality is not just a gift to yourself. It's a gift to the world. We need what only you can give. We need your voice, your vision, your unique expression of the divine. Don't rob us of that. Don't play small. Don't hide. The world has enough copies. What the world needs is you, the real you, the original you. So go be that, fully, unapologetically, magnificently. And watch what happens when you finally give yourself permission to shine as only you can shine. I want to ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. What if everything you've been taught about prayer is backwards? What if the very act of asking God for things is the exact reason you're not receiving them? I know that sounds crazy. I know it goes against everything you learned in church, everything your parents told you, everything you've believed your whole life. But stay with me, because what I'm about to share with you changed everything for me, and I believe it will change everything for you too. For years, I prayed like most people pray. I asked, I begged, I pleaded, God, please give me this job. God, please heal this relationship. God, please bring me money. God, please fix this problem. And you know what happened? Sometimes things worked out, sometimes they didn't, and I kept wondering why God seemed so selective, so arbitrary in answering prayers. It felt like I was sending letters into the void, hoping someone would write back. Have you ever felt that way? Like you're praying and praying, but there's just silence on the other end? Then one day, I had a realization that shook me to my core. It came to me in the simplest moment. I was sitting in my garden, watching a rose bush bloom, and I thought, does this rose ask to bloom? Does it pray for petals? Does it beg the universe to make it beautiful? No. It simply aligns with what it already is. It doesn't ask for roseness. It already is a rose. And in that moment, I understood the rose doesn't ask because the rose knows. It knows that everything it needs is already within it, already surrounding it, already flowing through it. And that's when it hit me. We are exactly like that rose. We are already connected to the infinite source of everything. God isn't some distant king sitting on a throne deciding who gets what based on how nicely we ask. God is the very energy that flows through you, through me, through every living thing. It's not separate from you. It never has been. When you ask God for things, you're actually creating separation. You're saying, I'm over here lacking, and God is over there holding what I need. But that's the illusion. That's the fundamental misunderstanding that keeps people stuck. Let me tell you a story about a woman I met years ago. Her name was Sarah, and she came to one of my talks absolutely desperate. She had been praying for financial abundance for 3 years. Every single day, she would get on her knees and beg God to send her money. She would say, God, I need $10,000 to pay my debts. Please, please send it to me. And every single day, nothing changed. She was still broke, still struggling, still desperate. She came up to me after the talk with tears in her eyes and said, Wayne, why won't God help me? Why is he ignoring my prayers? I looked at her and I asked a simple question. Do you believe God is abundant? She said, yes, of course. I said, do you believe God wants good things for you? She said, yes, absolutely. Then I asked her the big one. If God is abundant and wants good things for you, why do you think you have to convince him to give them to you? Her face went blank. She had never thought about it that way. You see, By asking and begging, she was actually affirming lack. Every prayer was saying, I don't have it, I don't have it, I don't have it. And the universe, which responds to your vibration, kept giving her more of exactly that, more not having it. This is the secret that most people never learn. You don't ask God for abundance. You align yourself with the abundance that already exists. God isn't holding back. The universe isn't stingy. There's no cosmic accountant deciding you don't deserve wealth or health or love. The abundance is already here, already flowing, like a river that never stops. Your job isn't to beg for water from the river. Your job is to step into the river. Think about this for a moment. When you ask for something, what are you really saying? You're saying, I lack this thing. I am separate from this thing. I need someone outside of me to give me this thing. And every time you affirm that lack, you create more of it. It's like standing next to a light switch in a dark room, praying for light, when all you have to do is flip the switch. The electricity is already there. The power is already there. You just have to align with it. So how do you align instead of ask? It starts with a fundamental shift in your consciousness. Instead of saying, God, please give me health, you say, I am already whole. I am already healthy. The divine source that created my body knows how to heal my body. Instead of saying, God, please send me love, you say, I am love. I am already connected to infinite love. Love flows through me and to me because that's my nature. Do you feel the difference? One comes from lack. One comes from knowing. I remember when I first started practicing this, I was facing a challenge in my career. The old me would have prayed, God, please make this work out. Please make this opportunity come through. But instead, I sat in meditation and I simply felt the abundance. I didn't ask for it. I didn't beg for it. I just tuned myself to the frequency of abundance. I imagined it already being done. I felt the gratitude as if it had already happened, and I let go of the outcome. I trusted that whatever aligned with my highest good would come to me because I was no longer blocking it with desperation and lack. And here's what happened. Within 2 weeks, opportunities started appearing that I never could have imagined. Not because God suddenly decided to answer my prayer, but because I stopped blocking the flow with my own resistance. When you're in a state of asking and wanting and needing, you're in a state of tension. You're clenched. You're closed. But when you're in a state of alignment and knowing and trust, you're open. You're receptive. You're in flow. Let me be really clear about something. This doesn't mean you stop having desires. This doesn't mean you become passive. This isn't about sitting on your couch and waiting for things to magically appear. It's about understanding the difference between creating from lack and creating from abundance. When you align with God's abundance, you take inspired action. You move forward with confidence. You make decisions from a place of trust instead of fear, and that changes everything. There's a passage in the Bible that says, ask and you shall receive. And people have misunderstood this for centuries. They think it means beg and plead and maybe God will give you what you want, but that's not what it means at all. The original meaning is closer to this. Align yourself with what you seek and it will come to you. Be in the vibration of what you desire and it must manifest. Because you and God are not separate. You are an expression of the divine. When you align with your divine nature, you align with all possibilities. I want you to try something with me right now. Just for a moment, stop asking, stop wanting, stop needing, just breathe. And as you breathe, I want you to feel into this truth. You are already whole. You are already abundant. You are already loved. Everything you've been seeking is already within you and around you. It's not coming to you in the future. It's here now. You've just been too busy asking for it to notice that you're already swimming in it. What would your life look like if you lived from this place? What would change if you woke up tomorrow knowing, not hoping, not wishing, but knowing that you are already connected to infinite abundance? How would you walk through your day differently? How would you treat people differently? How would you make decisions differently? I'll tell you what would change. Everything. Everything would change. When Sarah finally understood this, when she stopped begging and started aligning, something remarkable happened. She didn't get the $10,000 she was praying for. She got something better. She got a complete shift in her relationship with money. She got opportunities to use her skills in ways she never imagined. She got a deep inner peace about her finances, even before the money showed up. And then, without the desperate energy pushing it away, the money started flowing. Not all at once, not in the exact way she expected. But it came because she finally stepped into the river instead of standing on the shore begging for water. This is what I mean by aligning with God's abundance. It's not a technique, it's not a trick, it's a fundamental shift in how you understand your relationship with the divine. You are not separate from God. You are not a beggar at the feet of a king. You are an expression of the infinite. You are a wave in the ocean, and the ocean is in you. When you know this, truly know this, you stop asking and you start being. And here's the beautiful thing. When you align with abundance in one area of your life, it starts to overflow into every area. When you stop asking for health and start being health, your whole body responds. When you stop asking for love and start being love, you become a magnet for loving relationships. When you stop asking for peace and start being peace, your entire life transforms. Because you're no longer waiting for something outside of you to make you whole. You're remembering that you already are whole. I've seen this happen thousands of times. People who've been struggling for years, praying the same prayers, asking for the same things, getting nowhere, and then something clicks. They hear this message, they understand this truth, and they shift from asking to aligning. And their whole world opens up. Not because God finally decided to pay attention, but because they finally removed the blocks they were creating with their own consciousness. You might be wondering, but Wayne, what about gratitude? What about expressing our needs? What about asking in faith? And I want to be clear, gratitude is powerful. Expressing your desires is important. Faith is essential. But there's a difference between expressing from a place of alignment and begging from a place of lack. When you're aligned, your gratitude isn't, thank you for giving me what I don't have. It's, thank you for all that already is. When you're aligned, your expression of desire isn't, please give me this because I'm lacking. It's, I am open to receiving all the good that flows to me. When you're aligned, your faith isn't, I hope God will come through. It's, I trust the divine order of all things. Do you see how different that is? Do you feel how different that energy is? One is contracting, one is expanding, one is closed, one is open, one pushes abundance away, one draws it in. Let me share something personal with me. There was a time in my life when I was dealing with a serious health challenge. The old Wayne would have spent every moment praying, God, please heal me, please fix this, please take this away. And I would have been consumed with fear and worry and desperation. But I had learned this truth by then. So instead, I aligned myself with perfect health. Every day, I would sit in meditation and I would feel my body whole. I would feel the divine intelligence that created my body doing its work. I wouldn't ask it to heal me. I would simply trust that it knew what to do. I would be in the vibration of health, not the vibration of sickness. And something miraculous happened. Not just physically, though yes, my body did heal. But something even more important happened in my consciousness. I stopped being afraid. I stopped feeling like a victim. I stopped waiting for God to rescue me. I became an active participant in my own well-being. I aligned with the healing power that was already within me, and that made all the difference. This is what I want for you. I want you to stop feeling like you're at the mercy of a God who might or might not answer your prayers. I want you to understand that you're not asking the wrong way or not praying hard enough. I want you to know that the abundance, the health, the love, the peace, all of it is already here. It's already available. It's already flowing. You just have to step into the river. So here's what I'm inviting you to do. Starting today, starting right now, stop asking. Just for 1 week, experiment with this. Instead of praying for what you want, align yourself with it. Feel it as already real. Be it. Embody it. If you want more money, feel abundant. Walk through your day as an abundant person. Make decisions from abundance. Think from abundance. If you want better health, feel healthy. Move your body like a healthy person. Eat like a healthy person. Think like a healthy person. If you want more love, be love. Give love. Express love. Embody love. And watch what happens. Watch how the universe responds when you stop pushing and start flowing. Watch how opportunities appear when you stop blocking them with desperation. Watch how your whole life transforms when you shift from asking to aligning. This isn't easy. I won't lie to you. We've been conditioned our whole lives to ask, to beg, to plead. We've been taught that we're separate from God, that we have to earn God's love, that we have to prove ourselves worthy. Undoing that programming takes courage. It takes commitment. It takes a willingness to trust something you can't see with your physical eyes. But I promise you, it's worth it. It's so worth it. Because on the other side of this shift is freedom. Real freedom. Freedom from fear, freedom from lack, freedom from the exhausting cycle of asking and hoping and waiting and being disappointed. On the other side of this shift is the truth of who you really are. An infinite being, connected to infinite source, capable of infinite good, not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, but because it's your nature. It's who you've always been. God's abundance isn't something you have to acquire. It's something you have to remember. It's not out there somewhere waiting for you to find it. It's in here, in your very essence, waiting for you to recognize it. The moment you stop looking outside for what can only be found inside, everything changes. The moment you stop asking God for things and start aligning with God's nature, you become a conduit for miracles. So I'm asking you not to pray differently, but to be differently. I'm asking you to wake up tomorrow and instead of listing all the things you need, to simply feel the fullness of all that is. I'm asking you to trust that the same intelligence that orchestrates the planets and grows the trees and beats your heart knows exactly what you need, and it's already providing it. Your job is just to get out of the way. Your job is just to align. And when you do, when you really do, you'll discover something beautiful. You'll discover that you never needed to ask in the first place, because God's abundance has always been yours. It's always been flowing. You were just too busy asking to receive it. Now you know. Now you can step into the river. Now you can live from the truth of who you really are. An abundant, infinite, divine being, connected to the source of all things, not asking for your good, being your good. And that, my friend, changes absolutely everything.